Hey kids, how about we give the Jeep a tune-up today? My Jeep's a 2004 Jeep Wrangler. It's got the 4-liter inline 6. So we're gonna give it a tune-up. It's been running a little bit rough. It's been having some issues when it's hot. When it's a hot temperature and I stop, run into the store, do something, and come back out, it starts real rough and coughs and spits and misfires. And I've done some research on the YouTube and whatnot, and apparently the primary issue is this. So as you can see here, this right here is your fuel rail, right? Runs fuel to each of the individual injectors. This is an injector here, and here, here, and there. These are all the injectors. Well, this is your exhaust manifold. Your exhaust manifold right here next to 3 and 4 are so wrapped around the exhaust manifold that it causes the fuel to vaporize while it's sitting in a parking lot. And what I've tried to do here recently is I bought this heat shielding, and it seems to be working pretty good. This is the original factory heat shielding, this little cheesy foil concoction that's just worthless. So, like I said, we're gonna give it a tune-up. We're gonna be taking this guy here out. This is the ignition coil. We're gonna take that out. We're gonna replace that, and then underneath that are the spark plugs. We're gonna replace those. We're also gonna clean out our air filter. We have a lifetime air filter that just needs to be washed and cleaned. We're gonna clean the engine bay out and basically give the old Jeep a spa day. Yeah, I've got some cancer here I gotta deal with, but it was there when I bought it. This Jeep originally lived in Boston, up in Boston. And so they like to use salt on their roads, so there's a little bit of cancer up in here. There's some more over here that I need to deal with. Right here under the passenger door. I gotta deal with that, but that's another episode. So I ran to the store about 2 hours ago. Still pretty warm. We're gonna let this cool off for another hour with the lid open, and we'll be back. So here are our parts. Got a brand new OEM ignition coil. We've got Champion spark plugs, gap checker, and we've got this guy here. This kit is a heat insulating system for the fuel rail that this company, Design Engineering, puts out. And I've read nothing but good reviews, and it was not horribly expensive. I'll put the price, what I paid for it, in the comments. But here's our parts, here's our instructions, and we're gonna get started here. Now, of course, as always, before we start, we always refer to the Haynes manual. Yes, sir? Then we're gonna turn here, we're gonna check out, we're gonna find our engine, we're gonna find our numbers, we're gonna see what kind of spark plug we need. Then we're gonna ignore that. I'm just kidding. We're gonna take that number, we're gonna cross-reference it, we're gonna Google things up, we're gonna YouTube things up, we're gonna find out that what we want, that what works best in our Jeep is the Champion Iridium. Champion Iridium 9034, the RC12WEPB5. Now, we're going to go to the Champion website and we're going to check things out. As we saw, the gap for this spark plug in this Jeep is 0.035. Now in here, for the 4-liter 6-cylinder, 03 to 06, ours is an 04. It calls for a .04 gap. But as we saw, Champion wants us to put it at .035. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to make sure that we have the proper gap on our spark plugs. How we do that is with one of these. It's a gap checker, right? We're going to go here. We're going to check them. That's where we want to be. Yeah. We want it just where it stops. Oh, we're a little big. Just a little big. We want .035. Still a little big. That's perfect. .035. But what we're going to do is we're going to do that with all the rest of the spark plugs before we even get started. Alright, now here's a prime example of why you always check and don't assume that your spark plugs come out of the box at the proper gap. As you saw, the first one was around 040 and we want 035. This is the last one, and just so happens that I'm checking it before I set it. Look at where it's at. .040. In spark plug world, that's massive. Now, you want to just turn it to where it just stops. All right, so maybe 0.04, no, 044. That, again, that's huge. There. All right, so we've got the stage set here. We've got our new coil, our spark plugs. This isn't our spark plug gap checker. We got our heat shield kit. We've got some extensions, air ratchet. We got 1/2 inch, and we've got a 5/8 spark plug socket. We've got some gloves, keep our mitts clean, and our instructions. Got a fan. It's kind of warm today. And we've got a Jeep. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this air hose off. We're going to be cleaning the air filter also. So just to get this out of the way here, we'll pull this. Always oil your air tools. So step one is we're going to remove these 1/2 inch retaining bolts from the old ignition coil. I couldn't remember the word. Every once in a while you get to use the cool tools at this wobble bay, that back corner one. And then it comes out pretty darn easy, except it's got a really interesting electrical connection, and we need to go to the manual to see what the code is for pulling that out. I think you got to hold your tongue just right, and you got to stand on one leg. Disconnect the electrical connector from the coil rail by first pushing the slide tab up. Slide tab up. Then press the release lock and pull the connector off. Release lock. So up and up. And there it is. Out. That clip's kind of a bear to get, but once you get it, it slides right out. So before we go pulling these plugs, I'm just going to clean everything out with some air. Make sure I don't get anything in anywhere that doesn't need to be. I'm going to take a little dab of engine oil, motor oil, and put it on all the threads as an anti-seize measure. Alright, so now we're going to put all the spark plugs in by hand first. We're going to screw them in as tight as we can, finger tight, before we put a wrench to them. You never, ever, ever want to go direct to your air tool or your sockets, because if you cross thread this, no good. All right, so in closing, get all your spark plugs in, hand tighten them. Then you torque them to 27 foot-pounds, and be careful, especially with that last one back against the firewall. If you get a little bit of angle on your extension as you're tightening it, you can break a spark plug, break the porcelain. Not that that's ever happened to me, and had to go to the auto parts store and get a new spark plug. Anyway, so do that, and then put your coil rail on. Make sure it's on each spark plug real nice. Clip the wire harness onto it. When you get the wire harness clipped on all the way to where you hear that little click, slide the lock tab over so that it's locked in. Put the bolts in, start them off by hand so that for sure they're threaded good, and you tighten those to 230 inch-pounds. 230 inch-pounds is about that tight. I didn't video doing the air filter, even though I did clean it. Maybe I'll do that in another episode. And I didn't install the temperature shield kit. I'll make that a complete separate episode. Like I said, somebody might have had to run back to the auto parts store and get a new spark plug and put the Jeep together with one old spark plug and run to the auto parts store and then come home and then take everything apart again and put a new spark plug in. Yeah, sorry. So that's a basic tune-up on an 04 Jeep Wrangler. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.